Welcome into the Friday Night Locker Room Show, brought to you by Space Coast Daily. We are here at Mike Erdman Nissan and Cadillac in the showroom right now. And guys, it's been a proud sponsor for the Friday Night Locker Room Show over the years.
Yeah, I think the name Friday Night Locker Room, fortunately for us, is becoming more associated with Mike Erdman Nissan Cadillac. He's been our title sponsor for a number of years, and without the support of Mr. Erdman and his dealers, we would not be allowed, wouldn't be able to do what we do each and every Friday night. So, I can't say thank you enough from a personal standpoint to Mr. Erdman, but the county as well, because what he does allows us to publicize positively the young people in Brevard County, which is what we enjoy doing, and we have to have those sponsors to do that. And Mr. Erdman's been with us for a number of years.
Orville, talk about how much the Friday Night Locker Room appreciates Mike Erdman Nissan for sponsoring you guys for so many years.
Well, Steve mentioned a lot of years. I believe this is actually our 10th anniversary that Mr. Erdman and his dealerships have sponsored the Friday Night Locker Room. One of the reasons we wanted to come here and do this segment from his showroom here on Merritt Island, just due to the fact of everything that he has done and his dealerships have done for us, the Friday Night Locker Room, over the years. We started, when we started way back, he was already there and became a part of the Friday Night Locker Room as we moved around from different stations and different venues. So he has stuck with us, and we certainly appreciate the backing that he has done for us and the sponsorship that him and his dealerships have provided.
We're going to talk about the boys right now. Guys, we're going to start off with the 2A and Steve, and we'll follow it up with the top 5 later on. But first, Steve, what do we got going on in the 2A?
Class 2A District 11 consists of 5 teams. There's Covenant Christian, Brevard Heat, and Merritt Island Christian from Brevard County, and then you have Morningside and the Masters Academy from out of the area. Masters Academy out of Vero Beach continues to lead the way. They were the district runner-ups last year. I think they're probably the team to beat at this point. Covenant Christian was the district runner-up they won the district last year. I like them probably as the number 2 seed right now. It's been a tough year for the local teams, the Heat, Covenant Christian, and Merritt Island Christian. Anything can happen, as we know, when district play rolls around, but hasn't been the year that they had hoped. It looks like at this point, Masters Academy and Covenant Christian out of Palm Bay may be the top 2.
Orville, we got the 3A.
First off, I want to say, I'm not in the market to buy a car right now, but I really like this rocking chair. I think if I could make a deal here and come out of here with this rocking, this is very comfortable. Moving on to boys Class 3A, we've got Benjamin out of Palm Beach Gardens. You got the Florida Air Falcons in Melbourne. You got John Carroll in Fort Pierce, Jupiter Christian, and MCC. So it's very southern district in Class 3A. Florida Air this week, they defeated Crescent City 67-63. Allen with 18 points for Florida Air. That was double overtime it took to do that. MCC and Rod Terry, they lost to Heritage, 89-86, and that took 2 overtimes to do that. And Yana with 25 points for MCC in that ball game, but that's Class 3A for the boys.
Class 4A, Steve.
Class 4A District 8, the largest district in the county, 7 teams, led by the Holy Trinity Tigers and the Cocoa Tigers, along with Astronaut, Cocoa Beach, West Shore, Space Coast, and Edgewood. Holy Trinity, coming off of a big week, defeated Cocoa a little over a week ago, 67-48, and that kind of put them as the top seed in their district. The Tigers from Holy Trinity did lose to First Academy out of Orlando last week, but they're one of the best teams in the state of Florida. So that's what you like to do. You like to go out of area, to play the top teams, and that's what the Tigers from Holy Trinity are doing. They did defeat Edgewood earlier in the week, which is not a surprise. Edgewood has played well. They're hovering somewhere around 500, but they're not quite ready to play with the Tigers this year. The Cocoa Tigers have played well. Coach James Rose kids continue to play good. They lost a couple of games in the last 10 days. They lost to both Holy Trinity and Heritage, 2 of the better teams in Brevard County. We got a chance to scope out the Tigers against the Titusville Terriers last week, and Jay Wilcox was our Mike Erdman Nissan Cadillac player of the game in that contest, played outstanding basketball. But they're not a one-man team. Javante Hayes scoring a lot of points for the Tigers offensively, runs the point well for Cocoa. So those are the 2 teams that are really, if they're not left standing at the end of district competition, I'll be surprised. West Shore has played well. They lost to Astronaut this past week in what some may call a mild surprise because the War Eagles have struggled a little bit. Cocoa Beach down just a little bit, lost to West Shore. So I think when all's said and done, it's going to be the battle of the Tigers for the district this year.
Battle of the Tigers. Orville, who you got in the 5A?
Class 5A District 14, again, this is the 8 teams divided up into 2 different districts, Merritt Island, Rockledge, Satellite, and Titusville, same as on the girls' side. Merritt Island Mustangs 7-16 record last year. They're trying, obviously, to do better than that this year. They defeated Vieira earlier in the week, 61-40, and then they defeated Satellite 53-36. Dufresne with 15 points and 16 points, respectively, for Merritt Island in both of those games. The Rockledge Raiders lost to Titusville 74-55. Hall with 15 points there. Then they turned around and beat Bayside 65-14. Sid Farrell, the big guy Steve mentioned, that I mentioned earlier, back now for the Rockledge Raiders. Don't know how many minutes he's going to get. Don't know how well he is, but luckily for Rockledge, he is finally back in the ballgame. 12 points for him. They lost to Bayside 83-48. My favorite guy on the Rockledge Raiders team, Xavier Stevens, 16 points. Young 9th grade freshman. Reminds me of Ralph Williams, a guy that used to play at Rockledge a few years ago. Ralph Williams could do it all. Stevens is going to be the scorer, I think, that Williams was when he gets a couple years older. If they can turn him into a defensive player also, they're going to have a special player in Xavier Stevens. Satellite, they lost to Space Coast 60-43, and then they lost to Merritt Island 53-36. So Merritt Island did well this week in a couple of ball games. And Chris Bainbridge and the Titusville Terriers, they defeated Rockledge 74-55. Russell with 27 points, Bailey with 18, and then they lost to Cocoa 65-59. Titusville, number 2 in the district last year. They were in at 12-14 last year. Right now, I think they're at 15-4. Look for the Titusville Terriers to win that district.
Steve, we got the 6A.
Class 6A, District 7, 4 teams, 2 Brevard County teams, 2 Orlando teams. You have East River and Edgewater out of Orlando, Heritage and Nogalley from Brevard County. The 15-4 Edgewater Eagles are the team to beat in that district, but it's not a runaway like a lot of people thought it would be at the beginning of the year. Although they have defeated Heritage twice, they've beaten them once by 3 points, and then about 2 weeks ago they beat them by 6 points. So it's 2 very competitive teams. The Panthers, to me, one of the surprise teams in the county. We all knew they were going to be good. I don't know if anybody knew they were going to be as good as they are. Coming off of a huge week, Heritage beat Melbourne and MCC last week, 2 of the best teams in the county. We've talked so much about Sean Willett this year, scored 41 against Titusville, 40 against Cocoa. He had 23 against MCC and then 14 against Melbourne. But they're not just a one-man team. Faircan scoring about 16, 17 points a game. He had 26 against Melbourne last week. And then you have Brandon and Stewart scoring in double figures. So Coach Link's Panthers are really playing well. If you look for somebody that could be an upset district winner, it could be the Heritage Panthers. But I'd be very surprised if Edgewater and Heritage aren't the number 1-2 seed. And they will be with the 1 and 2 seed, but end up 1 and 2 after district competition in any given order.
Orville, we got 7A.
Class 7A District 12, Martin County, Melbourne, Sebastian River, and Vieira. Martin County and Sebastian River being the southern end of that district. The Melbourne Bulldogs, they won that district last year. I think they're going to do the same thing this year, although they had a rough week this week. They lost to Martin County, which was the number 2 team in that district last year. They lost to Martin County 65-44, although Horkler and Folsom both with 12 points in that game. Then they turned around later in the week and they defeated another district team, the Vieira Hawks, 53-33. Horkler again tossing in 16 points for Mike Sullivan and the Melbourne Bulldogs. So the Bulldogs, they're going to have to play tough to stay ahead of Martin County, losing to them this week. The Vieira Hawks, like I said earlier, they lost to Merritt Island 61-40. Bay Lake with 17 points. They also lost to Palm Bay during the week, 46-33, and then they lost to Melbourne, like I said just a few seconds ago, 53-33. So the boys Class 7A, that's their District 13 or District 12.
That was an overview of the boys. We're going to kick it over into the top 5s now for Steve and Orville. Steve, we're going to start off with you. Who do you got in your top 5 for this week? Top 5.
Well, actually, I have 8 teams I'm going to talk about. I have 3 honorable mention. And you got to talk about the Space Coast Vipers. You know, they've only lost 2 games this year. We really haven't talked much about them because the level of competition, I don't know, has been that high. It's just been kind of a quirk in the schedule. But Christian Cooper and Devin Cannon, is about time to give them some props. So I have the Space Coast Vipers knocking on the door as an honorable mention. Titusville Terriers, an honorable mention. Coach Bainbridge's team played a good game against Cocoa the other night, came up a little short, but they've won an awful lot more games than they've lost. Very strong team. And also have the Hustlers from Melbourne Central Catholic knocking on the doors of top 5. And MCC and Titusville I've had in the top 5 during the course of the season, but the boys basketball at this point is kind of reminding me of the girls basketball, that it's just hard to put your finger on it. But the top 5, I had the Cocoa Tigers. James Rose Tigers played very consistent basketball, but I like the 4 teams I'm about to talk about just a little bit better than Cocoa at this point. The Melbourne Bulldogs checking in at number 4, primarily Melbourne, because Melbourne defeated Cocoa earlier in the year. Little surprised that Melbourne lost to Heritage this week. Not much, but a little bit, which is why I have Heritage ranked higher. But checking in at number 3 are the Panthers. You beat MCC and you beat Melbourne in 1 week. You're a good basketball team, and Sean Willett's going to be the leading scorer in the county this year, without question. So I like Heritage at number 3. I have Holy Trinity at number 2. They're the second best team in the county. I'd love to see them play Heritage. They don't play. They're not on the schedule, but I'd love to see them go after each other. Heritage defeated Cocoa, and I mentioned earlier they lost to First Academy. I have them at number 2, and checking in at number 1, once again, the Falcons from Florida Air Academy.
Yes, Florida Air as number 1. Orville, who do you got in your top 5?
Well, in the top 5, I've got 2 number 5s. I'm kind of stealing from Steve just a little bit. Just a little bit. I don't have 8 or 9. I've got a 5A and a 5B, so that only counts in top 5A. Okay. But I'm going to throw the Heritage. I'm not going to throw them in. They've been playing very well. As Steve has already mentioned, the Heritage Panthers, I've got them tied with the Titusville Terriers at number 5. I like what Titusville's doing. They've only lost 4 games, I think, all year long. So should they be further up the line? I don't know. But I've got them right now at top 5. We'll wait another week or 2 and see where they end up as districts move around. I got the Melbourne Bulldogs at number 4. Even though they lost 2 games this week, I still think Mike Sullivan will have them ready when it comes district time to play in the district. And being in the district that they're in with Martin County and Sebastian River and Vieira, Melbourne only has to, in my opinion, at this present time, look to Martin County to beat Martin County to be the number 1 seed. Now, they've lost to them already, so either way, I still think Melbourne makes the playoffs, and I think they'll go deep into it. But number 3, I have Holy Trinity. Like Steve, I like the way they're playing. They're beating some teams that they should beat, putting a lot of points on the board. They play defense and offense very well. I've got the Cocoa Tigers at number 2, and I've got the Florida Air Falcons right now, just like Steve, at number 1.
So you guys agree, both Florida Air number 1. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Orville has the right teams. He just doesn't have them in the right order. So, that's not bad. He's getting better.